Hello gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to the World of Gaming, your #1 podcast, where I discuss each and every week with this guy down below here today, with Wandering Dutch, everything that the world of gaming has to offer. And today we have a super special episode, and that's not just because of the new intro you just saw. We had the world premiere of our new intro, so let us know how did you like it. But that's not what this episode, or why this episode is gonna be so special. It's because of our special guest here. Jez Corden from Windows Central is joining us here today. So welcome to the show, and thank you for joining.
Hey, thanks for having me. Man, that new intro is a vibe. I was swaying and shit. I'm loving it. It's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you.
But yeah, thanks for having me, and it's nice to be back. Been a while since I've been on your show. A few
I
months,
think it was like February or so, March, something like that.
I have no concept of time anymore. None.
I feel you, man. I feel you. No,
it's like quantum breakup in here, man.
Yeah, man, it's awesome to have you back because we have a super special topic here that we want to discuss with you, and that is, of course, the entire rumor that has been floating around the last 2 days with the Halo Battle Royale mode. We will get to that, but we will also talk about a couple of news of on some Xbox exclusives. We will talk about Sony's new reward program and a special customer service that they provide now. We will talk about Stadia shutting down, Saudi Arabia getting into the gaming industry, and a lot more. But of course, first, Jez, what have you been playing lately? What has kept you busy?
What I've been playing Diofield Chronicle religiously the last week, almost every day. I'm trying to review it because there was no. Well, as far as I know, there was no review period for this game. I didn't even know the game was coming out. It just sort of appeared in my inbox one day. I was like, oh, that game exists. And I like tactics games. And I like Final Fantasy, or at least the classic ones. And I never played Final Fantasy Tactics as a kid. I never played it for some reason. So I thought, well, this would be my opportunity to relive some of those missed opportunities, I guess. So I thought I'd play Diofield Chronicle, and it's very strange. It's a very strange game. I'm about maybe 30 hours in now, or something like that. And you know that old JRPG trope where it's like it gets good after 30 hours. Yeah, feeling that with Diofield Chronicle. Like the first like few dozen hours are like a slog and quite repetitive, and it just still feels kind of repetitive at this point, but there's some stuff's happened that's been pretty cool, but I don't want to spoil it or anything. But it's an interesting little game, you know.
So what kept you going? Because usually when I don't feel it, like after 10 hours latest, I'm out.
Well, I kind of want to review it now that I've put this much time into it, so I feel like I need to finish it. But it's also like, there's something about the combat that I do enjoy, but it's not because it's very tactical. It's honestly not very tactical. It's really simple and basic. It's kind of like an isometric MMO combat. There's like a tank and a healer and a DPS, you know. Okay. So it's almost like playing isometric World of Warcraft, where you have... It's honestly not a very tactical game at all. I'm literally playing it like World of Warcraft, where you just get all the mobs together now and just AoE them to death. You know, it's gotten to that point where my characters are powerful enough that I don't even need to think that much about the tactics and stuff. But I honestly just want to know where the story's going, because it's like this intriguing political drama with you know, wars and betrayal and, you know, and these different factions and countries fighting each other and these characters evolving over time. And it's kind of like, have you ever read the Berserk manga?
No, I haven't.
No.
You Dutch?
I haven't seen. No.
It's about this like mercenary band, and it's kind of giving me Berserk vibes almost, because Berserk is kind of like the golden age arc in that manga is like about a mercenary band, and I kind of feel like this game's kind of riffing on it a little bit.
Okay.
With the whole betrayal and people's intentions going off in different places and that kind of thing. So it's a really strange game because it's published by Square Enix, right? And it has like all the Final Fantasy fonts and stuff, and it has Final Fantasy spells in the game too, and Final Fantasy monsters in the game, but it's not Final Fantasy. And part of me is wondering, like, was this originally maybe meant to be a Final Fantasy spin-off or something, and then one day they were just like, it's not good enough to be a Final Fantasy spin-off, so let's give it a different brand or something? Because it's really strange how it has a non-trivial amount of Final Fantasy DNA in the game. So I don't know. It's a very strange game, but it's not awful.
Nice, man.
That's my review. It's not awful.
Sweet. It's not awful, eh? We haven't read that too often.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome, man. Dutch, what have you been playing?
I mean, not too much this week, but on the weekend just gone there. A lot of Modern Warfare 2, whilst the beta was the open beta and the closed beta was open. So
Sweet.
Played a lot of that. Played about 15 hours worth, I think, all in all. Ni no Kuni, of course, still hacking away at that a bit. I'm really enjoying that. I did ask Xbox for a nice JRPG or a nice new Japanese animated game again to play, and they provided, thanks to TGS. Of course, it is an older title, but I've never played it before, so I'm enjoying it.
Nice,
so
nice, man.
Primarily what I'm playing. What about you?
I mean, Age of Empires. It's still on my playlist. I'm very close to hit the 300-hour mark, but man, I made it back into the gold 3 rank. So I feel like now we can end season 2, and I'm ready for season 3, which is about to start at the end of the month. So yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And I played a little bit of Deathloop, maybe 10 hours in now or so. Honestly, I'm not sure if I'm gonna continue. Have you played Deathloop, Jess?
Yeah, I played it a little bit on the first day. I'm really not sure about that game. I'm really not sure about it.
I really like Jess. We're both in the same boat.
I really like Arcane. Like I think Prey's one of my favorite games of all time. But there's just something about this game that just sort of like I'm struggling to care about it. And then every time like you die, you have to start over, and you know. And I don't know. I can't vibe with it. It's a very different kind of game, and I'm trying to like adapt to it, but I'm finding it tough. You know, I kind of wish like it was the same characters, the same setting, the same combat, but with a more traditional linear progression. You know, I don't like the whole starting over again thing. You know,
I
don't know why they did it that way, because I don't think it really adds anything. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. My biggest issue with the game is actually the mission design. I mean, there are games that like Elden Ring. It doesn't have like these quest markers on the map, but the game is designed around that, and Deathloop isn't. But then you have like these missions where it just says find the clue in the manor, and then you are in this gigantic manor and you run around for an hour, and I have not found the clue and I have no idea where to go to. Then I have to look it up in the internet, and in the next step in the mission I also have to look up on the internet, and it kind of, I don't like playing games that way. So I'm really not sure if I'm gonna continue with it. Yeah, and I have downloaded Grounded, but I didn't get the chance to start it. I'm hoping to start it tonight after the show, because I'm really looking forward to play the story mode. So yeah, that's basically what kept me busy. But with that, let's talk about. Oh, first I want to welcome your fan club, Jess. We have Sith Lord here in chat, who is sent in a super chat. He's a member for 3 months now. Channel member, awesome. Thank you so much for the support. He says, Chess, 3 times this week. It must be my birthday, but it's not. Shout out to you, Sith Lord. Shout out to you. Yeah, Chess. It was really on short notice that I got you on the show, because I've seen a conversation of yours on Twitter, and I actually wanted to ask you whether you would be okay with me talking about this on the show. And you, the nice guy you are, you just said, "Hey, I just come on and then let's have the chat on the show about this." And it's awesome. So there has been this rumor out there. Someone posted it on Twitter, and I think on Reddit as well, that the Project Tatanka from a certain Affinity, the rumored Battle Royale mode for Halo Infinite, was delayed because it is made, or it will be made in a different engine, and that it's gonna be a little bit bigger than expected. And earlier this week, certain Affinity actually came out and announced that they are working on this very big and unannounced project with more than 100 people. It's the biggest project they've ever worked on for the last 2 years. And so you came out and said, well, this isn't true, basically. But then you said, well, you heard something. You're not 100% sure. Can't confirm that it might be actually true. So you can elaborate it even better than I. So please.
I mean, this is still an investigation in process. Like, I'm still asking around. Like, there's a bunch of press that are trying to look into this, because it does seem like there might be something to it. And I do owe Sean an apology, because when it was Sean W on YouTube
Twitter.
who broke this.
Oh, YouTube, yeah, right.
And like, when I got a bunch of DMs about it this morning, and I just assumed that it was just another 4chan thing or something like that. Mm-hmm. You know, the way sometimes these rumors spread, doom and gloom, blah blah blah. And some of the stuff in the tweet that I saw, I knew some of the stuff in there I know to be inaccurate. You know, so I was kind of like,
for instance.
I don't want to say specifically, for instance, what was inaccurate at the moment. Because it's potentially controversial, but and I don't need that energy in my life right now. But there was some stuff in there that I didn't think was accurate, and so I just writ off the whole thing, because there's some of the stuff in there I was like, well, if that's not true, then maybe the rest of it isn't true, or most likely it isn't true. And also I thought it was just incredibly far-fetched, the idea that they'd switch engine. But then you know, and again, apologies to Sean W for just writing all that off. I shouldn't have done. It was just early in the morning, and I hadn't had a coffee, and I was just like, oh my God, all these DMs, you know. I was like, at a glance, I just, you know, thought there's just no way this is a thing, right? But then, like, me and a bunch of other people started looking into it, and while there's nothing concrete yet, and, you know, investigations ongoing, you know, trying to lock down some concrete information on this. There's a lot of things that potentially point to this possibly being maybe a thing that could be possibly maybe true. I haven't got any particularly recent information on Tatanka, for example. The last time I had an update about the project was a few weeks ago now, and apparently this is a very recent development. As we know, there's been some very massive, and this is all speculatory, so don't take this as a leak or whatever, but this is sort of like the process of trying to piece together, you know, whether something could be true or whatever, and, you know, trying to piece together fragments to sort of try and paint up a picture, because we don't know. We don't have camera at 343. We don't know for sure what the deal is right now without someone, you know, coming out and, you know, giving us the concrete information or whatever, or Microsoft putting out a statement. I mean, as far as Microsoft's concerned, Tatanka doesn't exist yet. They haven't even announced it, even though, like, it's right there in the Halo public API and stuff, and the source code leaked and all this other stuff
and everything.
It does officially, Tatanka doesn't exist yet, right?
And I mean, certain Affinity even said that they were working on it for 2 years now. So
yeah, so certain Affinity, in an interview the other day with VentureBeat, they were like, "Yeah, we've been working on a major thing for Halo Infinite for a few years now." So I've been trying to lock down what the truth is behind this information, and haven't been able to get anything hard confirmed yet. But there are some things about it that kind of make sense. like David Berger, who created this, who led technology development for 343. He's gone from 343.
Yeah, he was the engine lead.
Yeah, and I don't think Microsoft has officially announced that yet. Like that, I asked them for a statement on that.
Yeah.
And they didn't say anything, which is still really weird because I know it to be true. And I think other people have corroborated it as well, unless I'm going mad, which I may well be going mad. We're all going a bit mad, right? But if the lead developer of Slipspace is out, Slipstream, is it Slipspace?
Slipspace.
Right?
Slipspace.
It's Slipspace. If he's out, and we've had a major leadership change with Bonnie Ross leaving.
Yes.
Could it be that the new leadership team has come in and had a look at all this and just been like, maybe what we need is a different engine to help this game realize its scope, because the rumor is that Slipspace is hard to work with. And from what I've heard is that the engine basically has very little tools, or the tools are underbaked and hard to use. And if you're working with a third party, and you don't even have good tools for them to use, then I could potentially see a company like Certain Affinity just being like, can we use an engine that actually isn't terrible? And maybe they're advocating for it. Maybe they're like, we've got a really good plan for a good product here, but it just doesn't work on this engine. So maybe it took a leadership change and all this is speculation, by the way. So like, please don't report this as fact. It's just speculation. And it's the process of trying to piece together a narrative which, to give Sean W. the benefit of the doubt, could this be true based on what we do know, So based on what we do know, or we assume to know, Slipspace is hard to work with. The lead developer of Slipspace is out, and Certain Affinity is making Tatanka, which is supposedly Battle Royale-ish. Now, some of the things that I do know about Tatanka is it was supposed to integrate Forge, and it was supposed to integrate Halo Infinite.
That literally here on my question list I wanted to ask. So if a new engine comes in place, and how is it going to be compatible with Forge, which was obviously the plan? Yeah.
So, like, if, and I was speaking to Jeff Grubb about this earlier as well, and he was saying, like, you could do like a database call for the progression, because it was supposed to integrate Halo Infinite's progression as well. And I am a dev, I don't know any of this stuff, so I have to ask for advice on some of this stuff, and and so like if it were, they could keep the Halo Infinite progression even on a different engine, but it's like they still have to port all those assets to Unreal Engine, presumably. So like if you've unlocked all this stuff in Halo Infinite, the stickers and the armor bits and whatever, do they have to make all that again in Unreal Engine now? And then it's kind of like, well, then you have to set up some kind of bridge to like between the different clients being like, and have like a unified progression layer. So like it can tell which shoulder pad you've got on the Unreal version of the game and the Slipspace engine version of the game. Yeah. And then you get even deeper into it, like with Halo Forge, and it's like, there's just no way that Forge would be able to incorporate another engine, presumably. And if this Battle Royale game is going to have user-generated content, which is what Microsoft's all about now, everything has to use user-generated content. Minecraft makes money hand over fist on user-generated content. There are $1 million companies that literally their entire business model is user-generated content for Minecraft. They want that for Halo. They want that for Starfield. But if you put that game on Unreal Engine, it kind of unravels the proposition a little bit. Because I'm not sure, like, what the licensing looks like for user-generated content in an engine you don't own. Like, that's going to increase your overheads, right?
Yes.
And then you sort of get into, well, Microsoft can afford it. They don't really care about writing off money and sunk costs and spending money, especially in this inflationary market we got right now. They don't really care about leaving money lying around. It's better to spend it, right?
Yeah.
So there's an argument to be made that maybe there's a sort of crazy logic behind them throwing out 3 years worth of development and moving it all to Unreal Engine if like there's some fundamental flaw in Slipspace that is stopping Tatanka getting to where it could be or needs to be. But it still seems so out there for me. You know, it's like, my God, you know, I've got this. Tatanka's been in development since late 2018, I think, or 2019, something like that. It was supposed to launch in January of this year.
Yeah, that's what we heard. I don't remember exactly where that rumor came from about the January launch. Probably. And then, but since everything gets delayed these days, we all just, it's just another delay. Especially with Halo, we've seen so many delays, you know. So
it's wild. So I was just kind of like, would they really shred it from Slipspace and just rebuild the whole damn thing? Like, would they need to rebuild the whole damn thing? Does Slipspace somehow magically translate to Unreal Engine? I don't know. It all starts getting really murky and stuff, and without having, you know, a good sourcing on it right now, which is, you know, I don't right now. I only have information on what Tatanka was supposed to be from a little while ago, and you know, I know you know Forge's development's going well from what I've heard, and Tatanka development was going well as well. But supposedly this engine change was a decision made only in the last couple of weeks or so, which you know. Well, if it's happened, and it's conceivable that it happened, and I don't know about it. You know, I don't know everything. I don't know that much at all, really. So it's sort of trying to dig into this is kind of tough. And right now, I have no reason to believe that Sean W's information is wrong, because the stuff that in the original tweet, which did seem wrong, in his actual video, he said, you know, he tried to label it as speculation, but it got spread around as a leak because it was part of the report, right? So the stuff that I assumed was wrong was that was his speculation. So the only thing that he reported, which was that the engine is being switched and the game's being delayed, I know we already know the game's been delayed because it was supposed to launch in January based on my information. So it's like the delay seems every game's delayed. So, you know, that's a given. Right. Totally believe that. But the engine switch, that's a tough one, man.
That's a weird one. You know what my first thought was when I read it? Assuming, of course, it is true. They had this plan for like 10 years for Halo Infinite. But honestly, is anyone really thinking that they're going to continue to have Halo Infinite for the next 10 years or so? And what if this is basically what they do now? They bring out Forge for Halo Infinite, and since like you said, not compatible, let's move the certain affinity Tatanka out for like 2 years or so, switch the engine, have something that looks state of the art in 2024, 2025, whenever. Kind of like an ODST, something that is standalone, like, but still related to the franchise, so that they can come out in like, I don't know, 27 or so, another 2 years later with the next Halo iteration. Because the way how Halo Infinite was handled now in the first 1.5 years or so is really not the way how they will continue to have Halo Infinite for 10 years. The IP is too big to let it go under. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on this. Could it be that this is now gonna be something different, something more standalone, as a really standalone game, Maybe they even add another thing to the battle royale-ish kind of a game mode. What do you think?
Yes, I do believe. I do believe adding a standalone battle royale mode. It's strange though that, and again, this is news that we haven't identified as being true or being false yet. But it would be strange having a huge change from Slipspace over to Unreal for Tatanka / Battle Royale, whatever it is.
Assuming it's Unreal, yeah,
assuming. Though I can also understand that it could be down to the potential engine limitations of Slipspace causing issues trying to create a battle royale or a battle royale mode, and it makes more sense, of course, if you've got an entirely separate studio creating a singular mode, to have that as a standalone product. And having a bit like Warzone is with Call of Duty, although it is connected to the game, it isn't connected to the game. It is an entirely separate thing. So I can see it going along the lines of the Call of Duty route, should we say, where you've still got the menu. The Battle Royale will appear as a mode
as a launcher, basically. Yeah.
And then it'll just take you to the other download. Essentially, if you try to launch it from that, it'll tell you to download the Battle Royale.
Interesting stuff.
But then you've got to look and think about the way Halo feels, and is that going to be able to be replicated in Unreal? That is the only.
I mean, 343 themselves, they said that they didn't want to use Unreal because they couldn't replicate the feel of Halo in Unreal.
Yeah.
They said that themselves in some interview or something, at some point, which kind of flies in the face of like, you know, what this is. But what if Tatanka's something different? What if you don't play as a Spartan? What if you play as an ODST or something? What if I can play as a flood form? Screw it. I'll play as a polyp. I'll play as a polyp, baby. Or whatever they're called. Those little football things, you know what I mean? I don't play as them. What Halo game is that? But I don't know. I mean, there's a lot they could do with the Halo universe, you know, like all kinds of stuff. And, you know, Halo Wars wasn't built on the Slipspace engine, was it? So, you know, it's interesting to think about, but it's also kind of like, it just feels far-fetched. Like, how much switching engine, how much rebuilding are we talking here? Are we talking from the ground up? It's kind of scary to think about. Yeah. You know, how much money is being lost there? You know, I shouldn't say that, actually.
It probably, no, you should say it. How much money is being lost?
No, let's not go there.
No, it is an interesting question. I mean, we know that Microsoft, a lot of Xbox studios are trying to use like unified tools like Houdini. They rely on Quixel assets or Megascans and stuff like that, where certain engines are just compatible with these days. But yeah, it kind of sounds like a lot of work, because it's not just about graphics. In engine, you also design stuff like animations, stuff like physics simulation, and of course the core gameplay mechanics like shooting and stuff, how this feels, the timing of it, and so on. All these things are also defined in an engine, so it's really not just moving over the graphics. It's a lot more. So it would be something absolutely new. Someone in chat, Isildur Spain, I think it was Isildur Spain who said it, is IdTech. Microsoft also owns that engine now. Everyone assumes always Unreal, of course, because a lot of studios run in Unreal, and a lot of Unreal is just a super popular engine and an easy to access engine. But with IdTech, they have one of the most advanced shooter engines out there. What do you think, Chess? Halo in IdTech.
So that's That's one of the things that I always heard being discussed when they first acquired Bethesda was like, could they build an ODST kind of game on the id Tech engine? Because id Tech's this sort of faster kind of Doom's made in id Tech, and I always think of Master Chief as this sort of heavier kind of character. He's wearing all this armor and shit, and
slower.
He's teched up to hell, and so it's a little bit floaty, Halo, you do these like slow kind of jumps, and why is that? Why is Halo floaty? Is there a lore reason? Is Master Chief got like rocket propelled boots or something? I don't know.
I don't
but
know.
Like I kind of don't.
Gravity on the Halo ring that is just
that could be it. Could be gravity on the Halo ring, right? But I sort of like, you think of games like Doom and stuff, and it's sort of like it's a little bit more grounded, a little bit more fast paced, and action-y, I guess. A little less, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but I kind of feel like if you were to make an ODST game where you play as a soldier or a shock trooper or whatever, it's kind of like you want it to feel a little bit more faster, a little bit more twitchy. I often thought like what would be really cool is if they did like when this Activision Blizzard deal finally goes through. I often think, like, why haven't they done this already? Why isn't there, like, a Call of... because it feels like they're running out of ideas with Call of Duty. We've had Modern Warfare 2 remastered now. What's next? Are we... in, like, 10 years, are we going to have Modern Warfare 2 remastered again? Remastered? Is that what we're going to end up with? But I was thinking, like, why haven't they done Call of Duty StarCraft? Or Call of Duty ODST? Stuff like that. Call of Duty Doom, like with that engine, with that sort of gameplay progression, but like in one of their other shooter universes, Call of Duty Wolfenstein. I don't know. I mean, I desperately want the StarCraft one to happen. I think that's a wicked idea. And I won't even charge you royalties for it.
Proper new StarCraft, honestly.
But yeah, I think it could be cool, but there's no indication so far that they want to use id Tech beyond id for whatever reason.
I mean, Wolfenstein is also running on id Tech, but that's about it.
That's true. Yeah. I was wondering if like maybe I wonder if Contraband's running on id Tech actually.
Oh, interesting.
Since because the obviously the devs making Contraband, they also made Rage, and Rage is on id Tech, right? I think Rage 2.
Yes.
So I could look that up right now, actually. Why not?
I think so.
Right here on the show.
Yeah. But I think so. That's a good point. I mean, they also made Just Cause, but Just Cause was... I really can't remember the name of the engine. It was some proprietary engine.
Like Havoc engine or something?
Was it the Havoc engine?
It wasn't a Havoc engine.
Man, I need to Google
No, Havoc's not an engine. Havoc's a physics model.
It's a physics model, right? Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was their engine. I think I don't know.
Apex, the Apex game engine. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so that proprietary engine.
Exactly, and Rage 2 engine. I think Rage 2 is the chat says Rage 2 is on the Avalanche internal engine, so the Apex engine.
Oh, really? Okay. So I guess Contraband will be on that as well then.
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I often thought like maybe I often thought they'd package up id Tech and sell it, or develop it into an Unreal competitor or something like that. Because that feels like the missing part of GameStack is like, where's the engine? GameStack gives you basically everything, like all the middleware, all the live DevOps and the live ops and all that kind of stuff. But there's no engine attached to it. So I was thinking like maybe id Tech would be that engine, but hasn't materialized yet. Like, isn't Infinity Ward's engine like based on id Tech as well?
Yes, I think it was id Tech 4 or 5 that they basically started to modify it on, and now we are on id Tech 7. Obviously, they are different now, but the core is still based on id Tech.
And the guy who leads technology for GameStack actually used to work on the id Tech engine back in the day. So that's an
with John Carmack and the folks. Sweet.
Yeah.
That is cool. Yeah. Yeah, so we shall see about Halo Infinite. So just what do you expect? When will Xbox, Microsoft finally be able already to talk about this?
I have no idea. If it is switched off to the Unreal Engine, I suspect we won't hear about Tatanka for another 2 years or something now.
Probably, yeah.
You know, if it was, you know, I originally heard it was targeting January 2022 originally, and then I heard it was targeting season 3 or season 4, and then season 3 got delayed. So then I was thinking maybe it's it's going to be season 4, but now if it's switching engine, God knows, season 6 maybe. I don't know. Do we even have a season 6 at that point? It just, like, when you think about it, like, it's just crazy to think about, like, how much of a delay this will induce in the game, which I was pretty sure they were gonna tie it to a season. It was going to be the content for that season. So, like, if there's no Battle Royale for Season 4, what's in Season 4 now? Because it's not going to be Tatanka if it's switched engine. Yeah. And then it comes all the way back around to this, like, Halo Infinite's live service is terrible.
Yeah.
So if they are switching it to Unreal Engine, that's, like, a bold move. And then we get into the point where it's like, why even bother? Why not just start working on the next Halo and just write Halo Infinite off? Yeah. If you really get into the point where you're rebooting the whole project and moving it away from being seasonal content, moving it away from Forge and all that kind of stuff, why even bother? Or maybe like some people have said in the Halo community, it's going to be like a completely separate standalone kind of game, a different feel to Halo. Maybe it is an ODST, more Call of Duty-esque, faster paced, all that kind of stuff. I mean, these are things I can potentially investigate, but it's also kind of like, does the Halo community want that? Do they want something that doesn't feel like Halo? Because if it's on Unreal Engine, that might be what you're getting, something that doesn't feel like Halo. But at the same time, maybe that's what Halo needs. Maybe Halo needs something that doesn't feel like Halo to connect with new users, Right now, it's all a load of speculation. Don't know what's going on. Still waiting for confirmation on some things, but it does look like there might be something to it. So I apologise to Sean W for writing him off so quickly this morning.
Yeah,
that's why I shouldn't tweet before I've had my coffee.
We all did these mistakes, man. We all did them. Yeah, Chess. Good talk. Thanks for bringing clarification to these rumors and shed some light on the speculations. It was awesome. I know you gotta go, so I don't want to keep you too long. Dutch and I, we were gonna continue with a couple of other super interesting topics of the day. But yeah, again, Chess, thanks for coming on. We have to get you back for a full episode.
Yeah, I'd love to be there.
Awesome. But, I'll get in touch with you, man.
All right, cool, man. Well, have a good night, guys, and thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, and I see you soon.
See you in a bit.
All right. Dutch, so it is now you and me. We have more than 100 listeners and viewers here. So awesome that you all tuned in. If you enjoy this program, it would be absolutely awesome if you to simply smash that like button. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you're new to the channel, of course, consider subscribing. We always have a great time here on the World of Gaming. But Dutch, coming off of Halo and potentially getting some excitement around a new engine in Halo, we had something from Sony this today. And I'm not really sure what to make of this. So here's what happened. Actually, first, when I read it, I thought, okay, this is good news. Sony has confirmed that they launched their loyalty program. They're basically their kind of reward program. It launched today in the Asia region, and it's going to launch on October 5th in America, and in Europe and Australia on October 13th. So sounds like good news, but there was something attached to it. And man, it is, I hate to say it, but lately, whenever we talk about some Sony and PlayStation news, there's always something negative attached to it. So what came out of this is this reward program has basically 4 different tiers. And if you reach the highest tier, you're gonna unlock a premium customer support. So how do you unlock this now? You have to buy at least 4 full price games. Yeah, no DLC or reduced games count. 4 full price games, which we all know, $70 in the US, 80 euros here across Europe. How much is it in the UK?
£70.
70 pounds. All right, there you go. And you have to earn at least 128 rare trophies. It's not the regular trophies. It has to be the rare trophies. And you can't do that with 4 full games, at least not normal ones. So you even have to buy more to get proper customer support. And a lot of Asian player from Japan and South Korea have complained actually about that they really don't get any customer support anymore, and only the priority users can get on the phone. So I want to hear from you. It kind of feels like Sony lets you pay now for customer service or customer support. Am I right with this feeling, Dutch, or what do you make of this?
That's the way it's coming across. It's essentially saying if as long as you're the highest spender, then you're going to be able to cut in line and get support from us, where everybody else is waiting. If we're notified that essentially you're one of our priority customers, then you get seen to first. That's like a high-end brand mentality. That's like a big spender at Louis Vuitton or Gucci going in and having the person come and chauffeur them around. That's the kind of mentality that PlayStation are doing here by having this rewards program wall off priority access to customer support for the highest spenders.
Yeah.
And considering it's not only the fact that you have to buy 4 new games, it starts from today. So whatever you've already purchased this year does not count. It's everything going forward. And is there 4 new full price games you're going to want this year that you're going to pay that for? Probably not.
Probably not. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Hang on, we have the porn bots again in the chat. So just gonna remove that. Listen, I want to read a couple of comments from the chat. You know that our chat is on fire. Shout out to everyone here who's watching live. Dustin Lambert says, we won't answer your phones unless you've earned 75 platinums. Jacob Novi mentions 4 full price games in dollars, $280 for the customer support.
Well, it's not even just the dollar thing, actually. It's the fact that you need 128 trophies.
It's crazy, right?
So that means
rare trophies, not even the you know the what are they called, bronze?
Silver. You've got to get.
They have to be rare,
which is a lot. That's not just 4 full-priced games. You don't have that many rare trophies on 4 games. You'd be lucky if there's about 20 between all 4.
Absolutely. That's what I mean. You have to have like around 15, I would guess, 15 games at least.
At least.
In order to get the proper customer support. I don't know what Sony is thinking, honestly.
It's absolutely baffling, and I don't know why they keep doing it to themselves, and why they felt the need to include customer service in there at all. Why should you have priority customer support for anybody? Like, every customer should be treated as equal, no matter if they're spending $1 or $1,000.
Yeah.
You treat all of your customers the same. That's number 1 in customer service. There's nobody that goes above that. Yes, there are certain things in certain areas. For instance, if you're a very high-end user, a very, very high-end user that requires the service in order to run, that's a different story. But in terms of an actual general consumer,
yes,
everyone's the same.
Absolutely, absolutely. Imagine you're buying a TV and Samsung or I don't know LG or Panasonic or whoever goes in. You come in with a problem of your TV, and then they said, "Dude, you only watch 100 hours a month on this TV. We can't help you out."
It's only a 43-inch. You've got to have at least a 60-inch TV in order to access.
Yeah, so I think we all agree here. This is really ridiculous. And
why do you think they keep making, like, every time they say something good, it's followed up by something bad? Why do they keep doing this?
I don't know. I mean, maybe they have like this new internal team founded by Jim, good old Jimbo, the Greed team or so. Yeah, so they have a new strategy, and then Jim calls them in and on the table, and then okay, how can we make this move a little bit more greedy? And then they have a special task force just for this. Kind of feels like it.
I just don't understand it. I don't understand the mentality, and it's even funnier though with everything that's going on with the Activision, Blizzard, Microsoft.
Yeah.
And he's complaining about for the gamers and for the consumers. And then to do this, it's every time he opens his mouth, something gets released that is completely anti-consumer.
100%. And I think the chat agrees here. Dustin Lambert says, but Jim Ryan says that it's Xbox who's going to hurt gaming. So, yeah.
It's absolutely mad. Absolutely mad. I just don't understand. I don't understand the mentality of it. You, as a number one, if you look after your customers, the customers look after you. That's just a bottom line fact. And the reason customers would look after you is because the better you do as a company, the more likely they are to stay with you and spend with you. Now, they've already got the good games sorted, so they're kings of making great games. But there is so much more to a company than just making good games.
Yes.
And it goes down to customer support. It goes down to network stability. It goes down to security on the platform. It goes down to the customer service availability. If someone has an issue, you want to get it fixed and fixed quick.
Yes.
It comes down to the appalling refund policy that you can't even start downloading the game. The moment you start downloading the game, it is void. You cannot refund.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Listen, man, when my Xbox Series X broke a couple of months ago, you remember, it literally Xbox had the console for 1 day. And then I got the thing repaired back to me. That's how you do customer service. And if you treat a customer like that, like you said, he's not going to complain about the Xbox actually, he's not going to complain about that the actual Xbox broke. Yeah, he's going to be happy with how he was treated. And like you said, good games is one big important thing, no doubt, and Sony is good at that. But as of late, everything else kind of feels like they're not, and they used to be. Yeah, they had great customer support. They also had a great ecosystem, but things have changed. Microsoft has changed the business. Yeah, it just doesn't feel right anymore that you have to pay for cloud saves. It just doesn't feel right that you have to pay that 10 extra bucks for the next gen version of your game. It just doesn't feel right to not being able to play locally your PS3, 2, or 1 games anymore. Backwards compatibility not being supported. It doesn't feel right that I have to buy Spider-Man on the PC again when I already have bought it twice on the PlayStation. These are things like where Xbox just simply changed the business and the way how we think about value in gaming. Same goes, of course, for day one releases in a subscription service. We've gotten used to this, and you kind of expect it, and that's the new standard, and you have to move along with that. But it feels like Sony is just stuck in their ways, like they did it like 10, 15 years ago, but the industry has moved forward.
It doesn't feel like they're stuck in their ways. I think what they are trying to do is get the industry to stay true to their ways, and they don't want to move along with the industry. So they want to create these big games, but what they don't want to do is move along with where the industry is going, which is a lot more access for gamers to play games wherever they want to play games, mobile gaming, cloud gaming, better customer service, more interactivity with the customer base. As you see from a lot of different gaming studios now and a lot of different developers, they like to come out and be a little bit more vocal and get interactive with their communities. And Sony's devs outside of Santa Monica with Cory Barlog, who is pretty interactive, none of the developers actually get involved with their community. Like, there's not one point that you really see them get involved fully with their communities. You don't see, and essentially when you're looking at the way that Sony are operating and why they're complaining so much about the whole Call of Duty thing, is because they know it's not that they can't compete and putting games in a service, is that they refuse to compete on that front.
Yeah.
They don't want to get into the same battle with Microsoft. They don't want to say, well, this is the way the industry is doing. They don't want Microsoft to lead the industry, which is essentially what they're doing. Microsoft are trying to push the industry forward by offering customer-centric approaches to how gaming is evolving. And Sony don't want Microsoft to evolve the sector. Sony still want to be the ones that push the industry forward and push the medium forward. I just don't think they like the fact that Microsoft is the one attempting to push the industry forward, which is why they're kicking up a fuss and why they're set in their ways, why they refuse to actually provide a service that is going to benefit the consumer. They mentioned so many times that streaming services and rental services aren't beneficial. Then they created one, but they just haven't put day-and-date games in there.
See, and that's the weird thing. Like, you have this brand new rebranding of your subscription service. You have these 3 tiers now in the PS Plus base, essentials, and premium and stuff. You kind of want to promote that, but at the same time, you have like every executive come out and say, "Well, day and date, not for us, not for us. It would reduce the quality." So you kind of have the feeling like they really don't believe in the service, but please subscribe to it. Yeah. Recently, even Shuhei, and I really respect Shuhei. He's been a legend in the gaming industry. But even he came out and talked about
the problem I've got with Sony executives at the moment is I think they've all been given a remit to stick to, and they're not allowed to say anything beyond that. I don't believe that Shuhei, in a mind of his own, where he hasn't been told to stick to the remit, which I do believe, I don't believe he would say it's not beneficial. When every indie developer that's ever created any content that has went onto Game Pass, and he's in charge of indies for Sony, any indie developer that has mentioned day one on Game Pass has mentioned just how beneficial that's been. Every single one of them has been like, our game has done 2 million, and 1 million of those was on Game Pass. Or our game was this, and this is how much it grew, 25, 50%, 100% increases over last time. It's not just one developer, it's every indie developer. So
and it's not just the indie developerers.
Yeah,
it's
even the big guys,
The bigger guys. Recently, Arcane came out.
Shuhei's obviously indie for Sony. So
yeah, absolutely.
From his perspective, saying that you can't get indie, of course you can, because you put Stray there day one.
Yeah.
So if obviously it does well, it must do well. Otherwise, Stray wouldn't be going on there.
What's the reason why I actually zapped to the service? Because like I had the PS Plus thing, and I could have bought Stray for $30 or upgraded for 28.
Yep.
So obviously that's what I did. Let me read briefly a super chat coming in from Raiden Blade. He sends in £5. Man, thank you so much for the support. He says, the new cry from Jim is, we need to increase price before Xbox is buying up everything, and we need to stay in business. It's Microsoft, I bet. you that his move. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
is, and
kind of
the thing is about PlayStation is it's up until very recently, PlayStation literally saved Sony.
Yeah,
Sony was on its knees with its TVs, with its other electronic products. They weren't performing in any sector. They weren't doing good enough, and naturally, because no other part of their platform, Sony as a company was failing miserably. But Sony last generation, the PlayStation 4, pulled them out of it, pulled them out the thick of the trouble with their continued performance and investing in the big blockbuster games that continued to get hit after hit after hit after hit. 20 million copies, 20 million copies, 10 million copies, 15 million copies, 10 million copies. It was just hit after hit after hit. Game of the years, left, right, and center last generation. And it really dug them out the dirt. And the problem is, and we've said this since the beginning of the generation, Sony are resting on their laurels, and they're still doing that now. They're resting on, they're still in the mentality that it's last generation. The last generation is gone. You're only as good as your current generation. And so far, if we have a look at both of them, PlayStation have had a bigger game output this generation. But Microsoft have had, in terms of the actual services and everything they've produced for the consumer, it's a much more positive start from Xbox. Granted, we're never going to give them a pass on
the entire ecosystem around it. It's just more positive, and the future actually looks so bright for Xbox that gamers.
Even to add to that, in terms of future, you're seeing that there is still nothing from Sony to talk about what is actually happening next year or beyond. Nothing.
Which is so weird.
And we're into
Because they have always been so good in selling hope. Yeah, they've always been so good. They literally sold the PS4 on hope, because when we look back at the launch of the PS4 in 2013, they didn't have much first-party content either. It wasn't until, I want to say 2016, until this continuous stream of first-party games came in. Like, literally in the first 2 years, everyone called it the indie station. So, but they sold that system on hope. And this time, they don't. We know about God of War. Can't resist. I will buy it day one. No doubt. And then they said... then they said, well, Spider-Man 2 coming in 2023, and they've announced Wolverine for whenever. And that's it. That's all we know. And we know that Spider-Man is going to get a delay. It's not going to come out next year. So, listen, I have a thought here that the Sony will have a real hard... or let me start differently. Sony has it easy this year because even if they make bad customers moves, Xbox has a super bad year in terms of first-party releases. Everything got delayed, and it's just E3 the showcase didn't hit as intended, and so Xbox isn't the biggest competitor for them this year. Game Pass is doing well, but not too mind-blowing this year either. So they can get through with this year. Next year, and we're gonna get to some updates on Xbox exclusives in a second, man. Can't wait to talk with you about that. But next year, Xbox is, at least we all assume that, next year, they will have this continuous stream of games coming in. In addition to that, we have the third-party publishers bringing out the big guns next year. Not Rockstar. We get the Justice League game. Rocksteady, thank you. So stuff like that. We have Avatar, we have Hogwarts, we have all these big hitters from the big third-party games, with Dragon Age coming next year. We have these games as well. 2. So Stalker 2, we're gonna get to that Xbox exclusive in a second.
Yeah.
Listen, this is amazing what next year is gonna come out. But really every publisher is gonna fight over the time from gamers, because we simply won't have the time to play all those games. And then it comes down to this question, Dutch. You have all consoles. I do have the consoles. And whatever Sony is going to bring out, let's assume they bring out Spider-Man 2 next year. Even though we are excited for that game and we want to play it, we also have at the same time like 3 other big AAA releases. And 2 of them are going to be in Game Pass, and you don't have to pay 80 euros for them. So what you going to do? You only have limited time to play. You can't play them anyway, all. So what you're going to do? And this is when Sony is getting into real trouble, because then they are not just fighting for the money, they're also fighting for the time. And when you combine those, and Xbox offers both, they offer for their you have already subscribed to Game Pass, you already paid for the games. You can choose play Diablo for free, play Starfield for free, play I don't know, Redfall, Stalker, Wolong, whatever for free. Or will you be dropping like $80 for the multiplayer mode of The Last of Us, which is also going to come out next year at the same time?
Absolutely not.
Listen, and this is when
the good thing you mentioned time. Actually, there was a colleague of mine at work. He was mentioning, he was like, I can't wait for God of War Ragnarok to come out. He's like, I loved the first one. It was like my one of my favorite games of all time. And I was just talking about Ragnarok, and I was like, have you played Horizon? He hasn't even got a PlayStation 5 yet. He's still got a PlayStation 4. But he can't justify getting a PlayStation 5 because he doesn't have enough time in his life anyway to play the games, which is fair. But I was mentioning, have you played Horizon Forbidden West yet? He said, I haven't got round to it, but like all of the games that Sony bring out aren't ones you can just pick up and play. Like you've got to have a few hours spare. You can't just jump in for 30 minutes on God of War and then jump back out. It's impossible. You can't, it's not that type of game. You've got to set yourself aside a good couple hours to play the game every time you play it. Otherwise, what's the point? It's going to take you forever to finish it. So that's why he isn't getting Horizon right now. He's like, no, next one I'm getting is God of War, and then I'll spend weeks or months finishing that, and then get on to the next one. And again, you're right, it's about the time. And this is where this is exactly where Xbox hit the mark, because with Game Pass and with being able to not worry about spending it, you can download your shooter, you can download your sports game, you can download your adventure game, you can download your indie game, the new release, the third-party release, whatever it is, and you've got a multitude of choice where you can just, okay, I haven't got enough time to play on God of War right now because the kids are just off to bed and it's late and I need to get up tomorrow, so I've got half an hour to burn, so I'll just play this. And that's the benefit. This is where Xbox, as you mentioned, this is where they push forward and where Sony refused to invest in. I don't think they quite realize this thing. It's not just about making the best games known to man. It's about providing
the entire package, the value of the entire ecosystem. And then when you think about all that stuff combined with the conveniences you got, like having your games available on xCloud when you're on the go, or when you want to continue on your PC, and all that stuff combined together. Next year, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard for Sony. But that's actually what Sony kind of needs. I've said it a couple of shows ago.
I think they also need to get out of the mind frame that doing something would mean less money attributed to game development, or that for some reason putting it on a subscription service makes the game worse. I don't understand that. I've never understood that mentality, and that to me just sounds like he's degrading the developers, as if to say you're not going to do a good enough job if we put this on a service.
I've actually talked about someone who is in the what's the English word? someone who funds development.
An investor.
Thank you, an investor. Who's in the investor business, and he said that the video game industry is really hard to get into, because you have to spend millions and millions, hundreds of millions over years, before you get your actual return of investment. So that's why investors are really not that excited for the gaming industry, and it's really hard to get money in the gaming industry, because like you need 5 years to develop the AAA game. You have to pay 5 years of salary. You have to buy 5 years equipment and stuff. So before you start actually making money, and then all that money comes in at the same time, then you have a big pile of money lying around, and you kind of have to live off that for the next 5 years until you make the next game. And that's really the issue of getting proper funding in the gaming space. And guess what, Dutch? What helps to get continuous money that you need for the development time? I mean, a subscription service. Like literally month and month, each and every month you get the money. So let me briefly read a super chat coming in again from Raiden Blade. Thank you so much, man. Truly appreciate the support. Means a lot. He says, Call of Duty saved Sony. All them bangers were funded by Call of Duty. Dutch, remember these big banger needed bundles, e.g. Spider-Man bundle, The Last of Us 2 bundle, 10 million sales.
Yeah, absolutely fact. Specifically with Horizon Forbidden West, if that wasn't bundled, that wouldn't have done well.
So
it wouldn't. Horizon Forbidden West was performing very poorly, to the point where they didn't even mention anything to do with sales numbers. The only time they mentioned sales numbers was after they had bundled it in with the console on the fresh wave of releases. For essentially every console that was sold was with Horizon Forbidden West, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, it's performed this well." It was like, of course it is, because everybody now owns it. Because the only way to get a console was to get it with Horizon. So, of course, it's performing better. And yeah, he's absolutely right. And we've already seen the PlayStation Store exclusive Call of Duty bundle for the PlayStation 5. That's scheduled to release on launch day. So, yeah, of course, it's primarily for them. The Call of Duty thing is just the fact that they're going to lose advertisement on it, and they're going to lose the thinking mentality from the casual that Call of Duty is essentially an exclusive.
PlayStation exclusive, yeah, exactly.
Because they attribute, do you play Call of Duty? Yeah, okay, so like, what's your PlayStation ID? No, I play on Xbox.
It's no doubt Call of Duty on Game Pass day one is going to be a game changer. It literally is. Even in the casual market.
Just switching it up and having Call of Duty on the front of the box. Like the last time we had Call of Duty on the front of the box, we happened to get the worst one. It was Ghosts for the Xbox One. I know this because I got the Call of Duty
That was the last one, yeah. True.
I got that bundle, and it was the worst Call of Duty I've ever played in my life.
I can second that. Yeah, man. Yeah. So yeah, as soon as Xbox is gonna have those competitors to Sony, it will be a tough time. Next year it will be a tough time. In between all this stuff coming to Game Pass, the first party content, of course, and the third party games, plus all these big AAA third party releases. We'll have a discussion at the end of 23 if Sony is gonna have to change something and get a little bit more customer friendly, and that's all I want. I want them to have that proper competition, because I want Sony to do better by us customers. And that's I'm one of them.
We have these conversations and why we rant about Sony so much. It's because we want them to do better. Because if Sony and Xbox are on their absolute A game, all they're doing is pushing the industry forward. It's creating competition. And by creating competition, everybody wins. Literally everybody. All the PlayStation guys are going to get the best versions of their games ever. They're going to get the best games ever. Xbox is going to do the best thing ever. you're going to get the best consumer services because one of them's going to be like, oh, well, we've added this to our consumer thing. And the other one goes, yeah, well, we've added this. Look at this. And then they refine their rewards program and they refine their rewards and so on. It's a knock-on effect. When what it's meant to be, but Sony, instead of being buoyed on by Xbox's push on these services, are doing the complete opposite. They're refusing to get involved in competition. They don't want competition, is how it is coming across right now.
I agree. And we know that they are scared. But man, I don't want to drag this out too long. We're going off the rails here again. We always do that. We have one topic and then we end up. We actually started on the premium customer service, and I asked the chat. I put up a poll in the chat. What do you think about premium customer service? 14% love it. Take my money. 39% say, what are they thinking? And 47% say, please remove Jimbo. Yeah.
Remove the premium customer service or remove Jimbo?
Remove Jimbo. I think like, seriously, Jim isn't good for PlayStation.
No,
he really isn't. He might be good for short-term revenue, but if you think about long-term strategy and how these strategies are hurting the brand, I'm convinced that Sony can do better. I'm most certainly convinced about that. But man, let's talk about some Xbox games. We have a couple of different news bits, something smaller dropped today, for instance, like Scorn. You know, the slimy, squishy.
This is the first time I've seen a game pulled forward.
Whenever has it happened? Whenever has it happened that a game release early?
Yeah.
So Scorn is coming now out on October 21st. So in about a good 3 weeks.
14th. It was October 21st.
Ah, pardon me. See, there you go. 14th it's now. There.
It's even sooner.
Even sooner, too. So, gross, disgusting looking game. Not sure if that is for me. I admit it.
It's only 8 hours long.
Yeah, I'll give it a try. But
if it's only 8 hours, that's like what was that other indie game that came out not too long ago? The kind of cutesy one in space. Where you had to vacuum everything up.
Oh, The Gunk.
Yeah, that was like 5-6 hours long or something.
Yeah.
Like if we're talking that kind of time for Scorn, yeah, I can do that. Like as squidgy and as moist as it is.
we shall see. Something bigger, one of my most anticipated games next year actually is Stalker 2, man. Stalker 2.
Yes.
I have you played the OGs on PC?
I haven't. No, I've heard they're actually quite difficult games.
Oh yeah, they're not easy. No, not easy games. But they actually confirmed that they want to make this more approachable. There, Stalker 2 still coming next year. We had these idiots running around here on social, spreading false rumors about the game being pushed to 24, 25, because of obviously everything that's going on, and we all know how much trouble they actually have to put that game out. But it got to a point where the studio head or game head of the game actually came out and reassured everyone the game is still coming out in 2023. So another big blockbuster added to the list of 2022 titles for 2023 titles. Sorry, for Xbox. What do you think of this?
I'm really like Stalker was, and again we can't help what happened this year, and it's still ongoing. But I cannot wait. It was one of my most anticipated games. It was just a level of craftsmanship that they've put into Stalker 2 so far that we've seen. And now even seeing the the development thing again on the Xbox showcase, the extended showcase, was phenomenal to see the grit and determination by developers in such a grim time to continue to work on something they love to make sure that the game continues and life somewhat continues as normal for them. Yeah. In such the hardest of times, and of course, not all of their developers are developing. Some of them are protecting the front lines and protecting Ukraine. But the vast majority of their developers are continuing to work on the game, and they're continuing to make sure that thing comes out. And it's that level of determination, it's that level of work ethic, should we say?
Yeah.
And everything that's going into the game just makes me even more excited. It's the passion. It's the passion.
Can you imagine the dedication and the passion you have to actually work on that game again after everything that they have gone through? Like literally your colleagues are at the front. You had to, part of the studio moved out to Prague. Others live in the subway stations now, and it's insane that under these circumstances there's still enough passion left to finish up this game. I'm absolutely excited for it. It was on my list even before the war in the Ukraine happened, and it is still up there as one of my most anticipated games because I loved the first ones. If you remember, back in the days, a part of the studio split off, and they created then the Metro series, which was also absolutely excellent. Superb games. I love them. These games, this kind of setting in Eastern Europe, like the post-apocalyptic settings in Eastern Europe, it just hits with me. You know, it's something that I really, really dig. And
I think the thing with Stalker 2 as well compared to Metro is Stalker 2's got a little bit more of a realistic vibe around it.
It does, and it is a little bit more open world, and you know how much I love open world and RPG elements. So, man, Stalker 2 gonna be awesome. Can't wait for that. We also got some news on another Xbox game of 2023, and yes, I'm saying it already. It is an Xbox game. Then by then it's Diablo 4.
Yes.
By then it is an Xbox game. And Diablo 4 actually got the beta invites out. Have you been one of the lucky ones? Yeah, me neither. I think my 300 hours on Xbox were not enough.
You have thousands. Needs to be thousands.
It need to be thousands. I don't know. Anyway, we're hearing very good things. Even the beta has cross-play and cross-progression. Yeah. It's an endgame beta, so it's all endgame content. No,
so you kind of try out all the specials and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And we were hearing very good things. So I want to hear from you about your hype level for Diablo.
To be fair, this for the Diablo series, I've enjoyed them, but they've never been something that I've always been hyped about.
Yeah.
So I like the series. I do enjoy them. I do enjoy these kind of these top-down. Is it isometric? It is isometric, isn't it?
It's isometric view. Yeah.
I was trying to think of the word there, and I was thinking it is isometric.
It is isometric. Yes.
Yeah. These isometric kind of hack and slash kind of magic game. I do actually really enjoy them, but I do take them in kind of pinches of salt. Obviously, I'm much more of a JRPG, where I love turn-based JRPGs, and of course, I think one of my kind of more anticipated games is the other one that we're getting for the game that released this year. I keep forgetting it now. 100 Heroes, it's called.
Okay.
I can't wait for that second part to release next year. But for Diablo specifically, the showing that it had when they officially kind of unveiled some of the gameplay or more in-depth gameplay at the more recent showcases for it actually worked in its favor, because it looks so much more impressive than any previous Diablo. The world is much more impressive. Graphically, it's so much better. I love the random world events that you get where everyone has to fight against these giant kind of demi bosses, should we say?
I think it fits perfectly in a Diablo setting to have like this,
but it feels
shared
more like
overworld
an open world RPG than it does a standard Diablo where you're kind of just going from mission to mission. When you're adding these randomized events and these randomized things that are going on, it feels more like your character leveling up has a worth other than just completing the game or doing dungeons. Because with an RPG of any sort, what you're really leveling up for is to go and battle against the toughest enemies, or let's go and do this raid over here. And it sounds like they've got these more just these, like I say, these randomized events and raids going on in Diablo 4 now, which is that's the kind of stuff you want to see. It's kind of their version essentially of a Destiny universe.
Absolutely. It's funny you mentioned that because I was literally saying earlier today in a chat I had with some people in the community that I truly hope that they adopt the ideas of strikes from Destiny to Diablo. You know, like these 15 to 20 hour missions that you can do with randoms if you want to, where you don't really have to talk to each other. I mean, that's really the thing about the strikes in Destiny, and I don't know any game that did it as well as Destiny did it with the strikes, where you have like these missions that you can play with randoms. You're still having fun. You don't need to talk to. I hate talking to randoms, but you still can do that. And I think like this would perfectly fit into the world of the Diablo. Then you have like this shared overworld with all the online events that you just mentioned that are going on, and then you just walk into the dungeon and then be on your way with either your mates or simply alone. It sounds really like the Diablo we all wanted. And if you look at the art style, they're finally coming back to this more dark and gritty world where they had like this more colorful and comic-y look in Diablo 3. And not to take away from Diablo 3, I know a lot of people hated it, but I played 300 hours or so of it. Which reminds me, by the way, we need to boost your character. But at this point, we're just probably gonna wait for Diablo 4. But anyways, I digress. The thing is, it really sounds like the Diablo we all wanted. The art style is fantastic. They have such a diversity in the biomes for all these dungeons that they have already shown off. The classes look fantastic at launch. So far, I'm still hoping to get my beta invite eventually. It would absolutely be awesome. I want to read one comment here from chat. From the chat. Damn it! Now it's gone.
Where Dark as well, because he came up with a name. It's Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes.
Yes, Eiyuden Chronicles.
Oh, that's
I played that as well. So where was it? There we have it. William Lanza says, Diablo 4 have micro in order to keep on playing, need more data. So Blizzard actually came out, Rod Ferguson came out and said it's gonna be your classic Diablo experience. Without having relying on microtransactions to progress. So I give them the benefit of a doubt. I have no doubt that there will be a cosmetic store in the game. No doubt.
The thing is that I think the thing that saves Diablo 4 from having cosmetics is the fact that they have Diablo Immortal that is rammed full of microtransactions. So I think the fact that they have a microtransaction source in a Diablo universe already saves Diablo 4 from getting those microtransactions. So I think why Rod said that, no, it's going to be a standard Diablo thing. Like there isn't going to be these in. you're going to just have them. You can unlock everything the same way you did previously. There's not going to be microtransactions. I think he meant that literally because of the fact that they know they have another microtransaction source in Diablo anyway, which is Diablo Immortal on mobile. So I think that's
which is by the way, generating an insane amount of revenue. And if you look at this kind of revenue, you know exactly why Microsoft is trying to get ABK. It's really not about Call of Duty. It's about these mobile games. But man, Diablo, such a good franchise. I can't wait. I really can't wait. Yeah. This and Starfield, they are gonna take up my life. These two games next year.
I am quite intrigued on Redfall now as well.
Yeah, see, I was more excited because I love Arcane. I really Prey, amazing game. Chess Gordon talked about it earlier. One of his favorite games. Dishonored, also super special.
Yeah,
and I was really excited. Now I play Deathloop, and I'm not hating the game. I'm really not. I'm not sure whether I like it. That's my problem. So, and I don't know where Redfall is gonna land. Is it gonna be more Prey? Is it gonna be more Deathloop?
I think it's gonna be more Prey, but with a sprinkling of Left 4 Dead. And Borderlands.
If it's that, I'm all on board. I'm all on board. I'm still looking forward to play it, don't get me wrong. But if I have to pick my top hype game for next year, Diablo, Stalker, and Starfield. And I know especially Starfield and Diablo, they will consume hundreds and hundreds of hours. So listen, two things happened today. The first came as a complete surprise. No one saw that coming. Stadia is gonna get shut down. Oh, surprise. The true surprise was, to me, honestly, that Google did the right thing and they are gonna refund customers for their hardware purchases and all the purchases they made in the store for add-ons and such. Not for the main games, but at least for everything that you DLC or whatever you bought. You will get a refund. So, yeah. What?
I mean,
what do you make of this?
There is no. Let's face it. There's for the last few months, if not the vast majority of this year, Stadia has already been dead. Nothing has been happening for it. They got rid of the development studios. They were relying on third parties releasing games for them. It was never going to succeed when you've got rid of your first party studios. It's already dead in the water. It's dead, deader than dead.
Yeah,
and then unfortunately, one of the we have to mention this as well. Unfortunately, one of the bits of news because there is no first party team to talk about other than just the guys that are working on the infrastructure and keeping it running, and the support team for Stadia. The developers that are working on games that are scheduled to come out this fall weren't informed until that article came out today. So they didn't tell the developers.
Which is crazy, right?
They just found out via the article that everybody else read. So essentially that's could be 12, 16, 18 months worth of development on a game that's coming out for Stadia that now is getting shelved, or they're now going to have to try and run around and find.
So where can we publish this now? Yeah.
Who can we bring this to? Are we going to try and get a deal with Luna and put it on Luna? Are we going to speak to Xbox or Nintendo or PlayStation? Because I have a game, it obviously needs now more dev time because I need to put it onto a different platform. But it's just unintentional and excess money that these indie developers now need to spend when they could have just been informed months ago. Listen, this isn't going to work. You're better off finding another platform to develop for. And even as early as yesterday, 9 hours ago, actually, when I was looking on Twitter just before, the Hot Wheels Unleashed developers and publisher put up a post saying Hot Wheels Unleashed is now on Stadia. 9 hours ago.
That is weird.
I was like, oh no.
How weird is that?
Oh no. Oh, it shows how uninformed the developers were. The fact that only 9 hours ago a game was getting put onto the marketplace. And now if you go into Stadia's app, you cannot access the store. It is shut off. It's gone.
It's weird. When we all expected it to happen eventually. Yeah. It's no surprise to me. What is a surprise to me, honestly, is that a company like Google, one of the most valuable companies in the world, they come into the market, into the gaming market. They invest hundreds, if not billions of dollars to develop that technology.
Yeah.
Google literally owns the search engine market. And with that, basically the internet. They literally own YouTube. So all content creation, or at least the on-demand content creation, is owned by Google. Yep. This company can't get into the gaming market. It is really something weird, but it just shows you the gaming market is special. The gaming market needs a couple of things, and you have to understand how the gaming community works in order to succeed. And one super important thing simply is content. If you want to establish a platform, you got to give your platform an identification. I always say that exclusives are important because they give the platform an identification. And look at gamers on Nintendo, they can identify with Link, with Mario, with all these iconic characters. If you look over at PlayStation, they have these legendary they have Nathan Drake and so on. They have these games where people can identify the platform with. Microsoft has them. They have the Chief. They have Forza. They have these iconic brands.
I was going to say, if you have a look at the history of Xbox and how Xbox came to be, and if you can watch the documentary, which is on YouTube, because Xbox did the history of, which is actually critically acclaimed documentary because of just how much detail they put into it. It was really well done, and I recommend everybody to watch it, actually. But they were in exactly the same position. They were creating a platform and didn't have an IP. And they went to Bungie, they saw Halo, and they went, that is the IP that is going to launch this Xbox.
Yeah.
That is the IP that is going to bring
that's going to be the face of our new brand.
Yeah.
And they didn't have that. Let me briefly shout out Fanto Sir in the chat. He just became a new channel member. Thank you so much, man, for the amazing support. Channel members that will grant you access now, early access to all the videos, and you will have custom-made badges and emojis here in the chat. So thank you so much, man, for the support. Shout out to you, and shout out to all the other channel members, by the way. Really means a lot. We'll just let them run here through on the bottom now for a moment. Yeah, but listen, it's and I really don't get why a company like Google doesn't understand that. That's the one thing. And the other thing is, if you come in as the new guy into a market where you have like these big dogs, these big established dogs that have they have decades of experience in that field, and people grew up with these brands. People grew up with a Nintendo. They grew up with PlayStation or Xbox, because people always say Xbox doesn't have nostalgia. They sure do. They are just 4 years after PlayStation on the market, so they are still like 21 years now in the business. If you have that, you know that they have established communities.
Yeah.
And nothing pushes you more than a fan-based community. I always say, like, these 5 hardcore gamers, and I probably speak for all of us here, people in the chat that are taking the time to listen to dudes like us that to talk about video games, that come here and discuss it on social media platforms with others. Those are the hardcore gamers. Those 5 to 10%, they advertise your platform. They go out to your friends. Like, how many times did someone from a relative, my uncle called me, listen, I want to gift someone a video game. Well, what do I gift? Yeah, you are the guy that recommends to your family, friends, and colleagues, and so on. You push this platform. So when you come into the gaming market, you have to get on this hardcore community. You have to grab them. You have to start creating your own community. And there was literally zero effort from Google to do that. There was nothing, absolutely zero, nothing. So no games to identify, no community. So that's how the gaming market or the gaming industry works. We are a community. We're passionate about games. We stick together. We talk to each other, and we push this industry. So yeah, to me, no surprise. And I made the joke earlier in the green room. I think Luna's gonna be next. Because
Luna's even worse at this stage, because Luna's US only. So
is it? No, it's available here.
It's not?
No, it's available.
Not
really?
Yet. Yeah, no. You can't get Luna. Luna's not a thing. No, US only.
I have to check up on that. Okay, but and be that as it may, I think they had at least one game released so far, the New World. They launched at least that, and it at least made some headlines as one game more than Stadia had. But that was, I want to say, at least a year ago, if not longer, and nothing ever since. So yeah, I have no doubt Luna is gonna follow the exact same route. Yeah. Yeah, but man, another interesting news bit dropped earlier today. Saudi Arabia is trying to get into the gaming market. It's really crazy.
They have their own gaming company at the moment. It's not the same type of gaming company as people think. It's an investment arm. But yeah, I'll let you dig into the news first, and we'll discuss it.
It's crazy. Saudi Arabia wants to invest a further $37.8 billion US in the gaming industry in acquisitions, including around 13 billion US dollars to acquire a leading game publisher. The rest is going to be spent on smaller studios and to get parts, shares of other game publishers and developers. And they want to get at least one major player in the business for $13 billion to play a major role in the gaming industry. What the hell is going on here? Touch, explain this to us.
I know exactly what's going on. If from obviously in the north of England, the major football team, Newcastle United, are now owned by the same company. It's PIF, which is the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. They are massive. The major, in fact, majority investors of Uber, major investors in Disney, major investors in pretty much anything and everything you know, and whether it be airlines, whether it be food services, and obviously now gaming. They've got their own sports. Of course, they've got their own Live Golf tournament, which has been a massive thing in sports recently. Of course, if anyone's a golf fan, you know the issues between Live Golf and PGA. But they have money to spend, and they have money to invest, and they want to invest their money worldwide. And let's face it, these oil nations, as we refer to them as, have a lot of money to spare but they are also very clever with their money. They don't just spend it for the sake of spending it. They invest it wisely, whether that be on infrastructure for their own country, whether that be these massive, unbelievably futuristic cities and eco cities and things like that, or building islands from scratch, and then selling them off for fortunes. They know how to make money and they know how to invest money in the right way. Them getting involved in gaming is going to shake up gaming. That isn't a pun on shakes either. It's going to shake up gaming to, I think, in as much as people don't want oil money involved in gaming, it is going to make a huge positive, I believe personally, in that it's going to, I think, provide a level of sustainability and a level of assurance to companies that are being invested by them, that they have an influx, but essentially they have an income and a support line to develop and to continue to produce and take the next step in their journeys, whether that being having the funding to create a new game, whether that being having the funding to create new technology or a new engine or improve engines that they have. Funding of the size of the likes of 38 billion is significant to the gaming sector, really significant. We're already talking at the moment about a purchase of 76 billion by Microsoft, and we're talking about essentially an investment of half of that into gaming in general. That's it's huge. That's essentially Embracer Group, and Tencent, and maybe one or two others combined. That is the level of investment that we're talking about here. That's all of these major publishers or publishing arms, all combined into one, and that's the level of investment again. I think it's huge news, to be honest, but it's also unsurprising to me. Absolutely unsurprising. They are PIF as an investment fund is massive, but they're also very much hyperactive in every sector.
Yeah,
they are permanently looking for investment opportunities. Permanently, there is not one day that goes by that they're not looking at investing in something else. So it doesn't surprise me in the least.
I want to know from the community. I put up a poll in the chat to the nearly 100 people that we have here live in our chat and that watch the show live. By the way, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys are absolutely awesome, and I see the chat is on fire. I want to know from you. Do you think it's good for gamers and the gaming industry that Saudi Arabia is actually going to acquire a publisher? I want to hear your thoughts, because I'm a little torn, honestly. I mean, we know Saudi Arabia, like you said, is investing for years now in all different industries. They are also heavily invested, by the way, in the semiconductor industry. So, yeah, they are branching out. Now, if it comes to us gamers, I'm really not sure how is Saudi Arabia gonna treat a major publisher like. With 13 billions, what are we talking here about? We could talk about Warner Brothers, the game division. We could talk about Square Enix. We could talk about something in that size. Yeah.
Put it this way: when we're talking about Saudi Arabia or Qatar or any of those oil regions,
yes,
spending 100 million to them is a flash in the pan. And when you're talking about creating a AAA game with a publisher, and they're saying, "Oh, well, we need 100 million for this next game as our biggest AAA project," this is how to them, Saudi Arabia and their investment is like, "All right, okay, right, yeah, no problem."
Man, and that's exactly what we have yet to see. Are they gonna be that kind of investor, or are they more like a Tencent? You know, that they come in and they make everything like pay to play, free to play, riddled with microtransactions.
If I've seen, and I can only base it on the way that PIF have run a football club so far, so it's conservative, but it's also forward thinking. It's not just spending for the sake of spending. To say, okay, what do you need to be successful, and that's what we'll get. So if we kind of literally do like for like into a game studio, and a game studio that they acquire is essentially saying, or a game publisher that they acquire, and they say, right, what do you need to be successful? Because that's what we're going to improve. Right. Well, we need to refine the engine. We need to get more staff. We need to invest in better audio equipment or whatever it is that they need to do. They will literally just do it. It'll not even be a question of price. It'll just be right, get it done. We'll have the most state-of-the-art stuff. That's essentially like what they're doing just for a football club now is a brand new state-of-the-art training ground, looking at increasing the size of the stadium. They've already refurbished the entire stadium. They've already invested 250 million on players. That's not even doing the entire squad yet. They've already invested in, they've already moved kind of things like statues and things like that at the club that were hidden out of sight. They've taken on the women's team into the actual club. Like everything that they could have done to improve right now and invest is being done. And if I do and that's the way that PIF run in every sector. It's not a case of just spending, because the Qataris just love to spend, whereas the Saudis are a little bit different. Like PIF is an investment fund, but done the right way. It's strange to say it that way with a nation like that and the way it's run, but PIF only invest in something if they know that they're going to be successful and they want to win. And that's the thing. If we see, and as soon as we see, which will happen, the Qataris get involved in the game space, which will happen because the Saudis are now involved. As soon as that happens, they literally want to win. The Saudis want to be better than the Qataris, and the Qataris want to be better than the Saudis. So that means they will repeatedly invest until it is successful. They want success. So
man, I hope you're right. I want to bring up 2 points from the chat. Fantasur brings up it's bad optics from a human rights perspective. I didn't want to leave that unmentioned. It is a controversial thing to discuss, absolutely. And the other thing comes in from Stuff John. He says 343 relocates to Saudi. It saves Halo, confirmed. There we go.
From we mentioned in the human rights perspective for a brief moment on Saudi Arabia or Qatari or any of those, because they all have human rights issues, severe human rights issues that do need ironed out significantly. I've said this in a different respect, and you have to highlight those issues whilst also realizing that there are some things that are well beyond reproach. When the governments are directly involved as major trade partners with these nations, those are the ones that need to be pushing for the human rights issues. Investments in firms that are all otherwise going to increase job opportunities in Europe or the rest of the world, whether it be local infrastructure, whether it be whatever it is, that level of investment for a studio of any kind or a publisher of any kind is not only hard to pass up, but you have to take it on the chin. You've got to say, right, we understand, like, we don't advocate for human rights issues. We don't advocate for the problems that they have. But we also understand the level, like the benefits of this, not just to us, but potentially the community that surrounds us and everything that goes alongside that. So you've got to recognize both sides. You have to. I think the problem is when people are saying, no, you can't do it because they've got human rights issues. If we went down that road and say you can't do something because of human rights, then you wouldn't have trade relationships with the UK because the UK have human rights issues. You wouldn't have trade relationships with the US because they have severe human rights issues. You would, or China, or Japan. It's a knock-on effect. There is so many issues. You're muted. You're muted. Muted. You're muted. You're muted. You're mute. Muted. Muted. Muted.
Oh, god damn it. God damn it. I was like,
I'm surprised you couldn't hear us. I was like, you're muted. You're muted.
yeah. No, I was so in the flow and in my zone. So now I totally forgot what I was saying. Yeah, man, it's hard with these human rights on a global scale. Like to do business on a global scale today in this day and age is kind of hard, because like a lot of countries involved, starting from semiconductors, you can't buy clothes if you take it really to the end of the supply chain, like anything. It's hard. It's still something I wanted to mention because it is an issue. It is an issue.
Well, yeah. 100%.
But man, let's move on to another topic. We have so much to talk about here today. It's like literally every week I start on Monday. I'm starting to write down potential topics for Thursday. And this week it was like Tuesday evening for me. And I was like, man, we don't have that many topics. And then Wednesday, Thursday, stuff just came in. Cyberpunk celebrated something. 20 million copies sold. More gamers than ever play it right now. On Steam, they had like let me repeat it. On Steam, they had the record. They had more concurrent players on Steam on Cyberpunk than The Witcher ever had last week.
Yeah.
They also, CD Projekt also says across all platforms, Cyberpunk is attracting right now 1 million players daily. And that's insane. And 20 million copies sold. After a very rocky launch, they finally ironed the game out where it was supposed to be at launch, honestly. But it's still a good game. At its core, I stand by this. Cyberpunk is a great experience. And I know your thoughts on this, but I want you to tell, of course, this also to our audience. What do you make of this 20 million milestone? I mean, 20 million is a respectable number.
Yeah, 100%. Well, you have to think back to the launch as well. To be fair, we would have been well beyond 20 million, but they refunded a significant amount, and they took that back down to original sales volume, which was about 13 million. So they've gained back 7 million customers essentially that they otherwise lost because of that launch. So for them, it's absolutely huge. I said this before as well. There is no other developer that has managed to capitalize on a release of a show the way that CDPR have. With The Witcher, they released the Witcher series on Netflix, and then The Witcher went flying into the amount of people playing that game.
Yeah,
and likewise, Edgerunners has just released its absolutely phenomenal anime on Netflix. I highly recommend it. It's a limited series. There will not be a second one, at least as far as I know. Of course, the way the story goes, you'll understand why. Phenomenal. They are nice and short episodes as well, if you want to watch them in bite-sized chunks, like 20 minutes long, 25 minutes long. But because of that show and that success, people just went out and got the game, or went and started playing the game again. And it has been literally day after day, the numbers have got better and better and better and better and better. And the increase in numbers has significantly grown. And yes, it hasn't hit the all-time peak on Steam yet. Of course, all-time peak on Steam is 1 million in a day. But the concurrent essentially the reason they're celebrating it is it hasn't been in a better position since launch as it has now. It is now, to be fair, day after day over the 100,000, 130,000 mark, which is massive. And as 1 million players, they're now getting a steady 1 million players per day across all platforms.
Yeah.
Which is huge for any, to be fair, for any game to get that level of consecutive players across all platforms is massive. That's a lot of people playing that game at the same time. And
1 million players a day is really massive. And I'm glad that the game is finally getting their recognition. They dropped these updates now at a good time also, because the major releases, we're still waiting for the major releases of this year, and we haven't had major releases in a while, so it makes sense. People have more or less time now to play such a backlog game, and yeah, it really runs very well. I'm loving that they added the cross progression now with the 1.6 update. Which is awesome. I can jump in between my PC and Xbox, going back and forth, and it's a lot of fun. And I jump in on a regular basis as well. I just love the world. But man, I want to shout out Fanto Sir. He sends in a £5 super chat, and he puts in a comment on our last topic. Actually, he says, with my line of work, I think of it politically, but yes, from a business perspective, it makes total sense to support the devs. Yeah, man. It is. Well, yeah, it is a controversial thing.
From a different perspective,
absolutely.
Me and Boxy, in our industries, we've had the issues with Russia and things like that, so we know what happens to when you're having to deal with the fact that you have to get things out of certain areas. And I know from big end top companies can afford to pull away from these things because they're just like, oh yeah, we won't do it. But smaller end consumers cannot, and they won't. They're like, as far as I'm concerned, as long as my bottom line's okay, I don't care. Like, I need to stay afloat. I need to support my colleagues and my employees. And that's what they'll be thinking of first and foremost. What can I do to make sure my employees are looked after? And if that investment opportunity comes, they'll take it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Good point, man. Yeah, Fanto, but I absolutely understand it, and I totally respect that opinion. I 100% understand it. 100%. And sometimes we can't separate political and business, and we have to make a judgment call based on our ethics. And I absolutely respect that, man. Absolutely. I also, by the way, forgot to close the poll in chat because I asked, do you think Saudi Arabia buying a publisher is good for gamers and the industry? 24% said, why not? 27% said, I'm scared. And 49% said, I have no idea. And I think I'm in those 49%. I have actually no idea how this will turn out. We shall see.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk. Good stuff. But man, we are almost closing in at the 2-hour mark. And we have a couple of really, really good community questions. And that's why I want to move over to the community questions of the week. All right, for those that are new to the program, we have at the end of every show the section that we call the community questions. Each and every Wednesday you can write in on YouTube, on Twitter, on actually people send me questions on Xbox Live now, which is also possible. Also, you can find me on PlayStation Network, wherever you want. Just send in questions, because sometimes you guys can't make it live to the show, and you still want to be part of this. Like the amazing community that we have here. I always say the World of Gaming is a podcast from and with the community, and the show wouldn't be the same without you guys. So I always want to give you guys the chance to just put in a topic, put in a question that we try to answer here. And this week's first question comes in from Amblix. He says, EA and Koei Tecmo announced their Monster Hunter-like game Wild Hearts for February, which was already loaded with games like Dead Island, Hogwarts Legacy, Like a Dragon, Destiny Lightfall, and Octopath Traveler 2, among other things. March is starting to fill up as well, yet we still have no word where Redfall, Starfield, and Forza Motorsport will launch. Is the window closing on Microsoft to get those 3 games launched by next June? Should they just stop promising dates and timeframes completely at this point? This was a really good question.
Yeah, I think if it was only going on sale, it would be more of a concern. But I think because Microsoft know their titles go into Game Pass, where a consumer doesn't have to think about picking up the game, they can just play the game. It's one less worry for them, really, because they know if somebody isn't going to go out and buy the game, they'll more than likely play it on Game Pass. Which to them, it makes no difference. It really doesn't make a difference. They're still getting people playing the game, which is essentially all they want. So I don't think the time frame thing or when it releases to Microsoft is an issue with Game Pass being a thing. If Game Pass wasn't a thing, absolutely, they'd be having concerns as to, God, there's a lot of games right now.
Like, I think every publisher has this issue right now. And I totally get that, even especially when you have like bangers like Hogwarts and Dead Island launching close to you. Wolong is also at the very end of January, but yeah, it's in that same window. Yeah, I think we touched upon this a little bit earlier also, because the difference then really becomes, so you have like money for one game and you have only time to play, let's say 2 major games a month. Like I don't know, a Hogwarts Legacy, it will definitely keep me busy for 2 weeks. And a Redfall or a Starfield will be a lot more than 2 weeks of game time for me. So at the end, they're gonna fight for time and money, and with and Game Pass just gives you both. It gives you the chance to just play the game without having to invest in it. And I feel rather different that games like an Octopath Traveler or Destiny Lightfall, where you, and even a Dead Island 2, if like a Dead Island launches, let's say at the same day, like a Starfield, you know, where gamers will gravitate towards. So yeah, it is a good question. I think the second part of his question is even better, because like, are we actually gonna think that all these games that they have announced for the first half of 2022 are gonna drop in the first half? We've already heard from Forza Motorsport, then Greenwald spoke about this. He said, well, Forza isn't entering the polish phase until 2023. And usually the polish phase is 6 to 12 months in game development, depending, of course, on the game. So obviously, if that's the case, if they need like 6 months or so for 6 months plus for polishing, they will automatically drop out of that promised window of the first half of 2022. So what do you think? Are they gonna hit that first half with those promised and announced games?
I think I think at this stage the only one that might not hit is Forza, but I think Redfall and Starfield will.
I think Redfall is a given, because I feel like everything we've seen so far from Redfall looks really, really good. At least in terms of like, obviously everything is taste, but what I meant is obviously technical quality. It looks like kind of far along in development, and it was originally scheduled as a summer release this year, so it should be far as the game that is the furthest along in development. I would say with Starfield and the scope of Starfield, I don't know actually where they stand in development. I really don't. But you're right. With everything we've heard so far from Forza, it's the most likely candidate. I could also see, of course, Stalker 2 drop out of the first half into the second half of next year.
Yeah.
Who knows whether Wolong will keep their targeted release window. Yeah. So we shall see. But I think we will also see delays in 2023. So no doubt. Why would the delays just stop now?
I don't think it'll be as grand. I think we'll see kind of several month delays as opposed to a year-long delay.
Yeah, exactly.
Mainly it'll be just for scheduling. Some of these
scheduling and maybe really that final touch. Yeah. But stuff like a Skull and Bones is now moved into March. Yeah, you know that this is gonna get. But nobody will notice. It's gonna come out, but nobody will talk about it because we are all busy playing all these other games. So, and I truly feel like Xbox has a couple of true juggernauts in the pipeline for 23. Yeah. So I feel like more the other games are gonna be scared about. When is Microsoft gonna bring out a Starfield, and then we're gonna move out of that way, and it won't be vice versa. Starfield 100%. Is not gonna move away from a Dying Light 2 or Dead Island 2 or something like that. I don't think so. But great question, man. Amblix, shout out to you. Great question. Fanto Sir, interesting one. With the announcement of Wolverine being in the next Deadpool movie and the fact that this IP is now owned by Sony, do we think there's a chance that the Insomniac Wolverine game will get a release on Xbox and PC at any point, timed or otherwise? If no, could that change in the future? So PC, no doubt.
No, because it's released by Insomniac. It's a first-party studio.
Yeah, exactly. And
on PC, yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, agree. Xbox, not gonna happen. They own that studio.
It's not to say that in the future that Xbox can't create a Wolverine IP of their own, because of course they don't own the Wolverine IP.
Although we never know with Sony these days, we've seen some weird paragraphs in their contracts. Even if they might not own the IP,
and even then, the Spider-Man one's a weird one. The history around the Spider-Man rights and things is so in depth. At any point, it could be Disney have majority ownership. It could be that Sony will have majority ownership. The kind of legal battles have been going on for years around that. So you'll never see officially a new Spider-Man IP be created on Xbox. But Wolverine's always a possibility. But you'll not see Insomniac's Wolverine on Xbox. No,
I agree. Dave Ramos writes in. He says, on any platform, what game from holiday 2022 through the entire year of 2023 do you think will be A, technical masterpiece, and B, which game will be a showcase of storytelling? So let me put my storytelling game. I want to give this also, by the way, to the chat. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Yeah, which game in 2022 or 2023 is going to be that true technical masterpiece, and which one is gonna excel in storytelling? So in storytelling, I have a candidate that comes out in a couple of weeks actually, and that is A Plague Tale Requiem.
I agree.
If you have played the first one, really the way how they presented the story, the way how they transferred the emotions in the story, and the true surprise moments where they just turn stuff around, and it was amazing. It was truly amazing, and I have no doubt that they're gonna excel with the second one. So I want to put in A Plague Tale Requiem for the story one,
Yeah, I agree. I'll also match that. I think A Plague Tale will get that for story, 100%.
So, and then we have like Smokey saying in chat, Hellblade 2 for both categories.
I would say Hellblade 2 for technical, possibly.
Absolutely. The thing is it gonna come out in 23?
That's why I say possibly. If it comes out in 23, absolutely.
Yes, no doubt. I said it in my last video. I tried to explain a little bit about some of the tech that is used from Ninja Theory in my last video. So if you haven't checked it out, some interesting stuff that we learned over the last days. A lot of people missed it. Technically, no doubt. I also have no doubt that they're gonna move the storytelling to the next level. No doubt. First one was great. The second one will be even better. But from a technical perspective, I think this is going to be an absolute showcase. But I'm not sure if it's going to come out in 2023.
I am all fingers, toes, and hairs crossed that it does. Of course, it's one of my most anticipated games, full stop. But again, we'll wait and see. I know the team are absolutely working hard and doing their best at it. There was only just the other day, actually, a video of the guys getting back in to do binaural audio, which is, of course, the 3D audio and going into the studio and doing the lines and things for that again.
That's what actually was one of the main parts of the video I did yesterday.
And it was, so they're working hard on it, and obviously one thing they've said and said all along is they will release it as and when it's ready. And not before and not after. And of course, you've seen that with Hellblade, the first one. Like, even on such a little budget, the amount of work that they did and the craftsmanship that they have was phenomenal. And now you've got what is essentially unlimited Microsoft money for them in comparison to what they had previously. They've got a brand new studio, state-of-the-art equipment now. They've got the world as their oyster, essentially, to create the best game they've ever made. So, yeah, it's absolutely going to be. It's one of the gems on the Microsoft crown, in my opinion. Anyway, Ninja Theory, I think, phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. I agree there. No doubt. No doubt. I also want to mention Doom Reaper. He says the tech masterpiece are the helicopters in Flight Sim, and
I mean, Flight Sim is a technical masterpiece as well, mind.
Yeah,
but that
and Moham or I don't know how to pronounce his name properly. I'm sorry, but he says Forza for technical, and that would actually be my choice as well. I feel like the Forza tech engine has always been a showcase. Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
But this time they're really doing something great, and I mean two things, and obviously one is graphics. It looks gorgeous. We've seen it. We see actually ray tracing in game at 60 FPS. I feel like remember when this generation started, and I said at the moment ray tracing is super expensive, and that's because it's niche. And what I meant by that was like ray tracing existed obviously in the PC space for a long time, but how many gamers actually had the RTX cards? How many gamers actually had the chance to turn ray tracing on? So it wasn't like a lot. Yeah, a few percent of people worldwide were actually able to do that. So developers really didn't have like time and budget to develop proper ray tracing algorithms, and that's like it's normal with every technology. And what happened when the consoles launched and RTX or ray tracing, hardware accelerated ray tracing was suddenly became a mass product for the masses, for the consumers. This changed, and Forza is one of these examples where like developers got the time and money and to actually invest in the technology, and now we see it in action, and it runs at 60 FPS with ray tracing, which is awesome, man. It's awesome to see that. So we have like this graphics technical aspect, but what even got me more excited is, and as much as I love shiny graphics as the next guy, and people know I'm a tech enthusiast, But what excites me even more is when developers invest in better simulation, physics, particle effects, stuff like that. And I love graphics, but what really excels gameplay to the next level is, in my opinion, if you have, like, for instance, better physics simulation, where you actually can feel, okay, my character, my car in this case, actually interacts with the world. Like when I crash against something, I see that it deforms my car in a realistic way. Yeah, when I walk with my character through, I don't know, a dense forest, and I feel like the leaves are bending around my character in a proper way. This is kind of the next level of immersion. And I've said it so many times, I really hope that this gen, we not just see an improvement in graphics. I want the developers to use, like, the new CPUs, which is still, in my opinion, the biggest step or biggest jump we made from last gen to this gen, is the extra CPU performance, that they use that not just for things to push a few more frames and a few more a few more rays in ray tracing and stuff like that. I want them to use that power to have a better AI for our NPCs, to have better physics simulation and stuff. And I have the feeling that the Forza engine invested in that. The things that they have shown off, like the improved tire interactions, they have, I think they increased the tire road interaction by a factor of 40 something. It's like they have 100 tire interactions per turnaround of your wheel, like, that allows them to simulate the car physics in a way different manner that they did in the last games. Yeah, they have, like I already mentioned, crash physics. They have particle physics from the debris of your tire up until to like particle effects when you're in an accident or stuff. It's all that excels gameplay to me. And so I have the feeling Forza, even though I'm not the biggest sim racer fan, yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm more like a Forza Horizon fan. But from a technical perspective, I have the feeling Forza Motorsport is going to be this technical showpiece that you want when you bring your friends home and you want to show them what next gen looks like. You put it on this game. So, yeah. Good stuff. What does the chat have to say here? So there we go. We have Gears. Yes, Sony gonna get, but yeah, Gears is not gonna come out next year. Nope. So yeah, it's an interesting question. But we just don't know about the second half of 2023. That's the thing, you know.
And we still don't know what Sony are doing next year.
Exactly. Like if Spider-Man 2 hits next year, I think that's also a good candidate, because Insomniac's engine is also it's amazing, man. They are wizards. All right, last question of the day comes in from Sith Lord. He writes in and said, if Sony played nice, I'm sure Microsoft might have talked about a 60-40 revenue for Call of Duty, but he wouldn't be surprised if it's now a 70-30 or even a 80-20 deal after ABK gets approved. What are our thoughts? So, if it's okay, Dutch, I'm going to take this one first. Obviously, I have no idea, but there are general rates how much of a cut a platform holder gets when someone publishes a game. At different percentages for regular publishers and the indie developers that are published under the ID at Xbox label, for instance. But in general, we are talking about a fixed percentage, and I don't think that this is up for negotiation per se. Not to say that obviously there will be special deals in between publishers and platform holders for certain things, but I don't think that Xbox is gonna play with that around when they leverage. They will bring other stuff to the table, like releases, even because they kind of will have to promise at some point certain, at least for a certain time, that Call of Duty will be a multiplat. So what they will bring to the table to negotiate things is like, okay, you can have Call of Duty still released on your platform, but what about our other games, like a Diablo 5 and a Overwatch 3 and whatever IPs they are gonna come out with? So I think that's more the way how these negotiations go. But who am I to know, Dutch? What do you think?
Yeah, it's. I think Xbox. At the end of the day, I don't think Xbox truly care about Call of Duty. Not in the same way that a lot of people think they do. Yes, they know it's a lot of money. They know they'll make a lot of money from it, but it isn't the reason they purchased ActiBliz. As much as people assume it is one of the reasons. Yeah, of course it factors into it, but it's not one of the main points. Cloud Tech and King was the main reason for purchasing ActiBliz. The other reasons, of course, some of the engines you get with ActiBliz again, and then of course one of the latter points is the IP. But it's not ranked up as one of the top reasons that they purchased them in the first place. So I think once it goes complete, the whole Call of Duty debate is going to be, I think it's just because, again, I think it boils down to Sony being scared with losing the rights to advertise that game as and create bundles and things like that are solely Call of Duty. I think that is the main scare that they're going to have is they know that once Call of Duty is no longer an advertisement tool for them, they're going to lose revenue on that section. Even though the game is still going to be multi-plat, still going to be everywhere, because they won't be able to advertise it in the future. They think they're going to lose money, but for the actual casual gamers, which is like I would say 85 to 90% of the overall market is casual. They're never going to shift platform for Call of Duty. They're just going to be like, no, I'll just play it on PlayStation. I'm not going to move over to Xbox because they own them now. Like, this is still where I prefer to play my game. And the vast majority of PlayStation gamers will never move because they've played on PlayStation since the dawn of time. It's the hardcore section of people who go, no, I want to go over to there now because they might get this first, or they might get like exclusive Xbox content because they own Call of Duty now, or it's going to perform better over here. Like, the vast majority of casuals don't care if it performs 5 frames better, and I was like,
I'm not sure about this, Dutch, but because like the value proposition is just there, and I feel like
especially the value proposition there, but for the vast majority of casuals, they're not going to, like, if they already own a PlayStation 5 or a PlayStation 4, the game's already,
for those they're not going to go out and sell them, and then, but the ones that are, if you walk into the store, let's say
as a brand new proposition, of course that's different. I'm more talking about the historic.
Yeah, obviously there are there are people that are simply attached. They buy that system because they know what they are getting with it. No doubt, you have those. But I think you've seen that as well. Let's say, for instance, in the smartphone market, where like you had Apple with the iPhone, and they thought, hey, people are never gonna switch over to Android, but some did, and the value and the market shifted drastically. There, where, and I feel like the same can happen there because the value proposition is just there. If, let's say, you're still on the PS4 today, it's still hard to get the PS5. We know something around 20 million or 18 million, something in that range, have moved over to PS5s. So, but a lot of this market is the hardcore market. I feel like the hardcore gamers are obviously the first ones to transition over to next gen. It's not the casuals that stand for 5 hours in line on day one to get the new PS5. So we are getting now into this phase after 2 years. Like, every hardcore gamer has the PS5 now, wants it obviously, but and then and same goes, by the way, for Xbox. Yeah, so that the hardcore market is now saturated, and now we're getting into the sales of in the casual market, and the casuals come in next year at around Black Friday, and they see this little white Xbox sitting there with Call of Duty on top, and you can buy it by then, let's say for $250, yeah, something around that, and you have that, and you see like, okay, Call of Duty is printed on the box, and then you read upon, okay, I only have to pay $15 a month, and I can play Call of Duty and 500 other games. Listen, I see at a point where this is the point where casuals transition over. Not all of them, because some are not gonna inform themselves. What is this Xbox? Never heard of it. I only know PlayStation. You will have those as well, but I feel like there's a significant amount of people that are informing themselves enough to know by then, okay, what is this Xbox that is now the home of Call of Duty? What is it? And so and Sony knows that. Sony knows that because it's not just that. It's not just Call of Duty, but Call of Duty could be that tip of the iceberg that where people really say, okay, now I'm gonna give this Xbox a try. I've heard of this. I know what Xbox is because I know a lot of people that really are not familiar with the brand, like, because there's literally no marketing existing for Xbox here in Germany. Nothing at all. I had this epiphany. I don't know whether I've told you this story, Dutch. When I started a new job in July, and in my first week or my second week, I was sitting at lunch with my boss and a few colleagues, and my boss and I, my new boss and I, we started to talk. And so, what you do in your private time? And I'm a gamer. I love. Oh, me too. So, what you play on? And he said, well, I play on PC and PlayStation. And then my colleagues all, oh, cool, PlayStation, okay. And what do you play on? I said, I have also PlayStation, but I play mainly on Xbox. And literally, like 3 people on the table turned around and asked, what is an Xbox? It is so, yeah. But when you walk in a store and you see Call of Duty printed on a weird box, you gotta take a look. You Google, oh, that's an Xbox. I feel like this can be the point in time where you have like people coming over, because Starfield is also gonna make waves. This is the game that will be announced. Oh, that's the new Skyrim. That's a new game from the guys that made Skyrim. And Skyrim is big enough that casuals know it and play it. Yeah, and you have that as well there. And then you come in with a Diablo, and where you have like maybe PC guys, yeah. Oh, I can play now Diablo on that $250 in 1440p. Okay, yeah. You have like all these options then, and I feel Call of Duty Sony is gonna notice. They are gonna notice.
They will notice, but I don't think Xbox will do anything to detriment them other than put it on Game Pass. I just don't. Again, Xbox have said this many times. Like, it makes no financial sense for them to remove it or get rid of it off PlayStation.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that.
And I also don't think, even from a percentage perspective, like, I think Microsoft will be perfectly happy with a 70-30 split that's already there. I don't think they'll do anything to rock that boat. Yeah, I think the Game Pass thing is the issue. Obviously, Xbox could work around it and say, well, listen, you can have Game Pass on PlayStation, but you don't want it. And we know why you don't want it, because that takes money out of your pocket. If it goes on Game Pass, it means you can't then sell it, which makes sense. So if that is the case, then come up with a deal to put it on PlayStation Plus. Then say, okay, well, if you're not going to put it on Game Pass, but we want to give value to consumers, then let's work out a deal to put it on PlayStation Plus.
That's an interesting thought. I haven't thought about this, but it makes sense. It would also, the combination, like
the money continues to come in for them in terms of microtransactions, etc.
And you still have the player base. That's exactly. And you still have the player base, and one additional thing is also like Microsoft will heavily support cross-play.
Yeah.
So that friend argument, I get a PlayStation because my friend is playing Call of Duty on PlayStation. I want to play with him. You don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah. I agree, man.
A world where that happens, where they say, okay, fine, let's make a deal for PlayStation Plus then.
Yeah.
Like we want this much and you can have it in PlayStation Plus. Same day as Game Pass. Same day.
Same day, same content.
Everybody wins. You still get your cut, but it gets access to more gamers. Because as far as Microsoft are concerned, we're going to now get a 70% split of that microtransaction revenue of all the gamers you're getting. So we're still financially much better off anyway.
Yeah.
You're better off because your gamers are happy. You're keeping your gamers. Call of Duty's still there. Everybody wins. We all get a day one. We don't even have to buy the game day one. You don't have to be concerned whether or not people are buying that game day one because it's not going in your pocket. You're not losing out that money. I think that
could work.
That's a scenario Microsoft could very well explore.
Absolutely.
It could even be part of the bargaining chip for getting this through.
And a cherry on top is it would like unveil the hypocrisy of that statement. Day one is bad for games.
Oh, 100% it will.
Yeah, no. Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
I personally think they'd snap their hands off. If Microsoft came to them and said, okay, PlayStation Plus and Xbox Game Pass day one. Sony be like, oh, whoa, okay.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. That man, that would be a fire move. It's like that would put Sony really in a tough position.
Yeah.
I agree.
Then the only difference would be marketing rights. That would literally be the only thing.
Yeah.
That would be it.
Yeah. True. All right, man. Great discussion.
I'm going over to speak to the CMA. I'll be.
There you go. There you go.
Right.
All right. Listen, Dutch. It has been an amazing show. We had Jez Corden here in the first hour.
Yes.
We're gonna get him back for a full episode, but big shout out to him for coming on the show to discuss with us the rumors about the Halo Battle Royale mode and the potential move to a new engine. Shout out to Jez. Thanks, man. It was really on short notice. I was actually literally just asking him about, dude, is it okay if I talk about your conversations on the podcast? And he was like, man, even better. I come on. It's like awesome. Shout out to him. Shout out to also the 100 plus people that watch this show here live today with us. You guys are absolutely amazing. We always have a blast because of you. Literally, you drive the show. I also want to say a big thank you for all the super chats. A big thank you to channel members. Your support helps so much and truly appreciate it. And we're gonna give a little back here again to the community. Very soon we're gonna do a couple of giveaways. So definitely stay tuned for that. Other than that, Dutch, where can people find you and what you're working on, man?
Oh God, yeah. So we're all working on quite a lot actually to try and figure out other ways of connecting with people and getting content out of people. So now, as much like you have, we've dived into the world of shorts and TikToks. Short form content, which is giving you bite-sized news updates, gameplay clips, funny moments, things like that. And whether it be from shows or gameplay live streams or anything, it's going to be that in very short form. It's like minute bite-sized content. Just going on to TikTok now, but essentially the stuff on TikTok will be the stuff you get on YouTube Shorts. So that's kind of, if you don't want to follow us on TikTok, don't worry about it. That's more a different avenue of people to find us. But yes, so now we've got YouTube Shorts. Of course, you can find me everywhere at Wondering Dutch, on Twitter, on YouTube, and of course we have the midweek mix-up on Wednesdays, on Tuesdays, Save Tuesdays, and on Sundays, the weekend edition. Other than that, of course, some ad hoc gaming live play streams that we do just on the fly. Sometimes
absolutely.
But
and if you guys don't want to miss that out, as always, you can find the links to Wondering Dutch's channel all in the description of this show. That makes it very easy for you to navigate over if you haven't subscribed already. Yeah, like you mentioned, I also started to upload a few shorts here on YouTube. Just trying a couple of things out there. Sometimes you have like these topics where you don't feel it's worth making an entire video about it, like a 10-minute video. One of my edited videos takes me like 6 hours or so to make, 5 to 6 hours. And sometimes you don't feel like every topic is worth that amount of effort, but you still want to put out content and you want to put out a conversation. Especially for me, it's always about the conversation with the community. So I always try to answer each and every comment under my videos, and sometimes I miss one or two, of course, but it's not intentionally, definitely not. So yeah, that's why I also try out a little bit of the short form content. I put the same stuff on other channels as well, by the way, the short form shorts on YouTube and TikTok and so on. So wherever you want to follow, I'd appreciate that. But other than that, man, we have a couple of awesome stuff lined up for this show here in the next couple of weeks. We have actually a very big developer coming on. We haven't we have the date already nailed down. It will be a special episode on a Wednesday. It will be 45 minutes long. It's the biggest interview we've ever done here on this show by a long shot. And it's we can't announce it yet. We have to wait for the PR department to get the approval, but they confirmed it's safe on Wednesday the 19th. Infos will follow shortly, of course, as soon as the PR department greenlights everything. So it's going to be awesome. Other than that, we have a couple of fantastic guests lined up for the regular podcasts each and every Thursday here. So yeah, guys, again, thank you so much. Dutch, thank you so much. I always have a blast with you on this show. Again, thanks so much for the super chats and the support. And guys, I see you guys definitely next week. If you see me on Xbox, just hit me up. Maybe we can play some games. And don't forget to game on.